All right, guys, we're here with my former co-coach when I was coaching at Southeast High School. As per her request, we're not going to show her on camera. So let's get started.
Sure.
What values do you follow in your coaching methods?
Well, I would say my values are really similar to that of other coaches. So things like trying to keep it fun for all my athletes. If you can't keep a sport fun or enjoyable, then they don't feel as inclined to be competitive. So even for any athlete, like they give it their 100% effort when it comes to competition if you make it fun. So kind of a mix of both, but you got to remember at the end it is competitive over anything.
All right. Given your background in the sport from your time in high school to your college athletics, what tricks have you learned that you applied in your trade?
Well, the things that I picked up on and learned were sort of just like picking up on what works for certain athletes and what didn't. Like for example, for working on mileage for an athlete, it's not universal as it is for everyone. It just it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's like what ended up happening with Chris and Scott. They were like running the same workouts, but him being like more of a distance runner and Scott being more of like a middle distance runner.
Yeah, obviously it's crazy how you can run the exact same event, but even with them two, they had the height difference, personalities were so different. So you just as a coach, you really got to learn what works specifically for one person, and it might not be as easy as it is for another one.
Yeah. So what do you do in order to maintain a healthy team environment and encourage participation from your athletes?
Well, as with everyone, I would try to create a healthy team effort or team environment for that. Especially, it's really important early in the season. So what I like to do is icebreakers to sort of introduce everyone with each other, and after that you kind of I followed it up with a friendly competitive relay, and that really helps them to just sort of bond a little easier. So as the season progresses, I assign team captains, 2 boys and 2 girls, consisting usually it's one senior and one underclassman. So this kind of helps to eliminate gender authoritative roles, and it's useful when you have to maintain such a big team.
Yeah, I know that like it helped us out a lot just trying to maintain order.
Yeah.
Like, because they would attain like the leadership in order to like take some of that weight off us.
Oh yeah, I mean, because like at the end of the day, you have to remember it's not just somebody that's going to boss you around.
Yeah.
Like it's somebody that's going to lead your team and motivate your team. From preseason, you can't just pick somebody off the bat. You got to see who can do it, who can lead this huge team.
All right, so explain a typical practice or workout you give your athletes to help them prepare for races.
There really isn't a typical practice I do. Mostly what I work on is just kind of mimicking race situations that they might encounter, as best to my ability. So like say for example, and it's going to get pretty technical, but if our game plan is a sit and kick strategy during practice, I might have them do 600s in the middle of the pack to try to kick. And then to get them a kick and close ground in the last 200 meters. So hope you understand and you get it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Okay, so given that there's no athlete with the same personality, how do you motivate them to excel in their sport?
So that is pretty tricky. Well, it's like you said, not everybody has the same personality. So when it comes to like motivation, it's not something easy as like giving a game speech at the beginning. But it actually depends on getting the athlete to believe and be confident and in themselves. So it requires a lot of finesse and a lot of one-on-one interaction. So important.
Yeah, like getting into their psyche and making sure that, like they're on the right mindset.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so tell me, how do you develop your athletes to ensure that they have proper running form?
It's pretty funny, but I actually just like to sit back, and sort of just observe what they do. But then from there, it's when I can start sort of tweaking everything. So if they don't have the proper arm swing, for example, like I'll make them sit down and swing their arms back and forth. So, something as simple as that really helps with that. A lot of it comes from agilities, which help reinforce the right postural position needed when running, and even with field events too for being track and field.
Okay. Do you use ergometers? And by ergometers, I mean like things such as like a treadmill or a stationary bike in your workouts to help improve your athlete's performance?
No, really with that, it's more like old school approach. So I tend to just use stopwatches and occasionally heart rate meter monitors when I have them. So then that really helps like with their improvement in performance. And given as you saw, we weren't given all those luxury that
it's not like
lot
we
of
were a
sports
big
had.
like D1 school that had this huge facility.
Yeah.
No, we had to share it with like all these other
Necessarily,
teams.
everybody wants the football team to get the weight room because they need it. But I mean, we did pretty well for what we were given, what we had.
All right. So, how do you go about in teaching your athletes about your sport? For example, teaching them like race strategies and what to do if they're presented with like a specific situation that they might encounter in a race.
That one's also pretty tricky. When I have to break down a concept for an athlete, I sort of have to explain it in like a million different ways. So, explaining tends to be the easy part, right? But the hardest part is to actually make sure that they understand what I'm explaining.
Yeah, because like you can't just go in with the same like thing to every person. They'll look at you like flabbergasted, like you're talking some other language, right?
Yeah. Run what? Or it's
It's like, you want me to do what?
It's such a unique sport. Like really helps you understand people better too. And it's a learning experience for everyone, I think.
All right. So the $1 million question that I think everybody's waiting for you to answer.
For sure.
What got you interested in coaching?
Well, actually, I was really involved in my schooling. I was very spirited about being a Jaguar. So it was kind of a way of just giving back for, having a great experience there. And like being in sports, it's so good for character building. Being with school and all, it's pretty stressed out and all those things teenagers go through. And people don't realize how important it is to have, sports or music. And, I'm really so thankful for that. It really shaped me into who I am today. And, it's just a way, if I can help somebody achieve that, then it's worth it at the end of the day.
All right. So you're someone who's like competed like as an athlete and then made the transition to become a coach. So what would you say are there differences in the way that you view a race as an athlete compared to how you view it now as a coach? Like what's different about it?
They're pretty different in their own way. Like as an athlete, it's a very superficial way of looking at a race. So, basically where the goal is to beat the person in front of you. But then as a coach, it's more than just skin deep. You sort of start to analyze every little detail about the race. And even sometimes, as silly as it sounds, it's like being a scientist. You got to take a lot of information and formulate it into this perfect theory, or like in our case, a race strategy.
Yeah, I get you. I know that was like something that changed big for me too when I started doing it.
It's hard. Like you really learn to appreciate your coaches too for everything that they taught you, and you kind of learn from them, but you learn your own way of doing, like your own style.
All right. Well, I think we got everything covered. Right. So, thanks for having you.
No problem.
And you guys, I hope this was informative for everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed.